Good morning, my friends. Of course, the little old lady cough. I always laugh when it does happen to you sometimes, Marie-Pierre. Then it says to me, okay, maybe it's not always the little old lady cough. Welcome to the Millionaire of the Diamonds, an amazing podcast, not because it's ours, but every time I'm preparing it or I'm listening to yours, Jean-Philippe, with Sylvain on Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm always flabbergasted to the level of personal development it really brings us this type of podcast. And I listen to other podcasts, of course, right? And I'm always saying, oh, that's inspirational, it's motivational. That's tragic. Like some of them are just designed to create shit disturbers. I don't know how to explain it to you. And it's okay. I mean, there's a podcast for everybody. But if you really want to reach the next level of yourself, this is it. This is it. So today you're going to discover why pressure almost, I wrote down almost always creates resistance. No, pressure always creates, not almost, always creates resistance. Why your greatest leadership tool isn't your advice, but rather your example. Like, as I was preparing this yesterday, I'm saying, I'm in the Tupperware world, and I'm saying if more leaders in my company would understand this, it's really not complicated, my friends, right? And how the neuroscience, which is not me that's going to cover it, proves that people are far more likely to change because of what they consistently observe. Now, that's a big one. And I was sharing very lightly with Jean-Philippe, Sylvain, and Marie-Pierre. There's something that happened Saturday at my home. We were having a family barbecue, and it almost went south, the barbecue, because of the behavior of one person. And I whispered in their ears, so do you want your son to do what you do? Like, shut up. You know what I mean, guys? Like, really? Really? Like, before we speak, look in the mirror. You're gonna love it, okay? But before we dive in, Marie-Pierre, over to you. I think we're gonna want to share with all those people that give advice, but represent nothing of what their advice they're giving. C'est bon, hein? Oh, I love this podcast.
Okay, so it's time to share the podcast this morning.
It's not working?
Yes, there's a delay. Your internet
There's a
is not
delay?
good. Yeah, I don't know why, but there's a delay. Okay, so let's start to share the podcast this morning. Yeah, put your phone instead of your internet. Okay, so so let's start to share the podcast everywhere. So you have the text in the comments, so you can share everywhere on every social media platform. But you will see that when you click on the arrow just beside where your comments, so you can share everywhere, you can see the option that you can share on Messenger or text message. So if you have someone in mind that really needs to hear the podcast this morning, best way to do it, those one-on-one, you make sure that they will click on the link and listen to the podcast this morning. Then we have our contest, Les Millionnaires des Diamants. So first, when you go on our Facebook group, Les Millionnaires des Diamants Inspirational Group, every time you post, every time you react, every time you comment on the group, you gain points during the month to be in the top 10 contributor of the group. And at the end of the month, the official top 10 will get a voucher to go shop on the boutique Les Millionnaires des Diamants. So you still have a few days to be in the official top 10. And then we have a draw at the end of each month. To be in the draw, there's two ways. First, with the boutique Les Millionnaires des Diamants. So when you go and you place an order, when you receive your order, make sure that you always take a picture and you post on social media and you tag the page Les Millionnaires des Diamants. And same thing with the books Les Millionnaires des Diamants. So you just receive one of the book, you take a picture. You're reading one of the book, you take a picture. You're doing one of the quiz book, you take a picture. You're using your agenda Les Millionnaires des Diamants, you can take a new picture. So every day you can have a new picture to post on social media and always tag Les Millionnaires des Diamants, so you can be in the draw at the end of the month. And last thing, if you don't already have your ticket for the next conference, make sure that you click on the link so you can register to be with us. It's a virtual conference. What? Yeah, it's like
Is
you're
it
coming back
working?
now. It's coming. Yeah. Maybe we're
You
gonna do a
can't hear
refresh
me,
on your page.
Jean-Philippe?
It's that kind of morning.
Okay, guys, you can't hear me.
Okay, let's do a refresh on your page and then we're gonna maybe it's gonna be better. Okay, so if you don't already have your ticket for the next conference, make sure that you click on the link to get your ticket. It's a virtual conference that you mean that you can join us from all around the world. But if you want to be in person, we still have some place. So make sure that you send me a message when you get your ticket, so you can ask to be in person with us. So voila, 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 voila. And Maria will be back. Doo-doo-doo. Ta-da! She's back. And I think it's good.
You guys disappeared. Can you hear me? Doesn't work.
Oh,
Is it working?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
but you freeze a little. I don't know why.
Is it? You sound
Okay,
like robots.
well, you sound like.
Do I sound like a robot?
Yes.
I sound like a robot. Okay, but you two sound like a robot to me. And no, okay.
Okay,
So Jean-Philippe, Marie-Pierre, go ahead with the podcast.
so let's start with Jean-Philippe. Woohoo!
Okay, so we'll hope that Maria will like fix her internet in just a few minutes. So yes, I'm going to bring you the theory today's of our podcast because yes, we want to influence people positively, okay, but we want to do it without applying pressure because as we've seen it last week, also pressure never works. So there's few concepts that I want to cover with you. First of all, is the behavioral contagion. The second concept is the ABC loop. Then I'm going to share with you the 5 whys method. And we are finishing with what we call patience. So let's dive in. So the first element of how you can influence people is understanding what we call the behavioral contagion and the mirror neurons. Okay. So research has demonstrated that for decades. Okay. They say that habits spread, emotions spread, energy, confidence, negativity, everything spread. I'm pretty sure that you've been around people and you feel that energy, positive or even negative. So our brain constantly observes others, not consciously, but it does that it does that automatically. Okay. And Mel Robbins give an example. Okay. She says that when someone bites into like a crisp red apple, okay, like maybe on a train, on a plane, people around them start craving for one crisp red apple. When a colleague start walking outside during their lunch break, suddenly more people are inclined to do the same. This is what we call the social contagion. Okay, they say that people, okay, are wired to imitate. Our brains is wired to imitate. So neuroscience has identified special cells into our brain that are called the mirror neurons. Okay, and those cells actually activate both when you do something and when you observe someone doing the same thing. That is why, okay, when you see somebody yawn, okay, it wants to make you yawn. Okay, so it's if you see somebody smiles, obviously you want to smile also. So our behavior works the same way. So if you're surrounded by people that actually do things that maybe you want to do, obviously there will be more chance that you will do it. Okay, because when you see something that is exciting, it makes you curious. It makes you like wanted to build something, to create something. Okay, not because actually they try to convince you, but because they model the possibility of what you can do. So you can't ask someone to eat healthier, okay? But you just gotta eat healthier. You gotta show them, don't tell them. And this is the first point of element that can start changing themselves. So, first element. Second element, we need to understand the ABC loop. The ABC loop is much more of a procedure that actually you can put in place to help people like get influenced positively by you. Okay, it's a 3-step framework. The step A is apologize, then ask open-end question. Okay, they say that when you start with an apology, okay, not necessarily because you're wrong, but because you want to create a connection. So it matters more like the connection that being right. You can say, I apologize for judging you or putting pressure on you. I've realized you never asked that. Okay. But then what is important is to ask open-end questions. Okay, this is what they call motivational interviewing. It's a technique that has been used, okay, in healthcare by a healthcare professional. Okay, they said that instead of giving advice or telling people what to do, you should ask them questions. Okay, like how do you feel about your health right now? What feels challenging right now about this change? What is holding you back? What could be the action you could put in place? So by doing that, okay, by asking them those questions, they say that they will discover where they are, where they want to be, and what are the action they can do. And they will make the link by themselves. They will create the relation between those information. And because it comes from them, motivational is internal, there's more chance that they do something. But when you did that, okay, you ask them open-end question without giving them like your like grain of salt. Okay, step B, back off. Okay, you got to observe them. Okay, so you need to don't put pressure on them. Observe. Okay, they need space to reflect. They need time. Okay, to put action in place, and maybe they won't did that action. It might take days, weeks, sometimes even months before they do something, but you just gotta look at them. And step C, you got to celebrate progress. So while they do something that you're proud of, that they see it's about a change that you want to inspire them, you got to celebrate them, okay, instantly, because immediate positive praise is a key driver of behavior change. So that's the reason why we always say recognize them, okay, while the sweat is like still on their like front head, okay, because if it's done instantly, they will want to reproduce that. Okay, so that is an easy 3-way technique that can help you encourage somebody without pressuring them to operate a change. But what is important is to understand where that change is coming from. And this is what we call the 5 whys method. Okay, so before you try to inspire or like even like want to change somebody, ask really why is that change important for you. And one of the example that I think is good coming from the book of Mel Robbins is the one talking about the husband of her friends. Okay, her friends look at her husband like, and she wanted to change him because she saw that he's not like having like healthy behavior. So Mel Robbins asked her, okay, ask yourself why. Why does it bother you? And like her friend said, because it doesn't seem to care about his health. And like then she asked, why does it bother you? Okay, because he's modeling unhealthy habits for our kids. Why does it bother you? Okay, it's like he's ignoring everything important for a beer, for a 50-minute television, or for an ice cream. Why does it bother you? This is the 4th time. And she said, like, he's the love of my life. I think he's selfish. I don't want him to have a heart attack. Why does it bother you? Because I'm afraid of losing him. So most of the times, the reason why we want to change people, it's because we project our own fear. The frustration wasn't about him, it was about her fear, about her love, which is good, okay? Because it sees that you care about somebody. But remember, you cannot change somebody if it's only about like projecting your own fear. So what it takes patience. And modeling, imitate, like inspire people, it's not something that you will say, it's always something that you will do. Influence is slow. Pressure, like wants immediate result, but influence works silently. It will take weeks, sometimes months, sometimes even years, okay? But you always gotta be that example. So be prepared to be that example for people so you can like always stay like in your line and understand how really, okay, influence, yes, works slow, but it's always like about you, and you gotta let them take their own decision. So I think that Maria is back with us. So are we good? Yeah.
Is am I better? I'm
Yeah.
not a robot. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. I think it's still going to flow perfectly this morning, even if I'm passing after Jean Philippe. I want to say a huge thank you for Matthew. I see Lise, Jacqueline here with us. Who else did I see? Jennifer is with us. I think I saw Melanie Beauchamp. Did we see James with us this morning? I'm not sure. I sound so Italian. James with us this morning. Yes, there's my beautiful James. Okay, it's so glad you guys are here. I love today's subject. I love today's subject because you'll first of all you'll notice that throughout the book of Let Them, something is naturally occurring, right? So we've learned that people have their own opinions. Let people make their own decision. Let people disagree with us. Let people make mistakes. And perhaps the hardest lesson of all is this one: let people be who they choose to be. Now, I have to admit something, okay? And I really want you to listen carefully here. As I was reading today's chapter, right? We prepared it yesterday. I found myself asking the same question to many of you who are probably asking it right now. I said, okay, Mel, I understand I can't control people. I understand that pressure doesn't work. I understand that adults will ultimately do what they want to do. But then what? So I'm reading this section or listening to it on Audible, whatever, okay? And this is it, right? So if I see someone I love making poor decisions, if I see a consultant struggling, and I'm talking about today at age 62, if I see a leader losing momentum, because the leader I am today, I was not that leader 20 years ago, okay? If I see a family member neglecting their health, if I see someone with incredible potential settling for less than they are capable of, am I supposed to simply stand there and do nothing? Because this is what happens when you're listening to this. As a leader, that feels almost irresponsible. And let me tell you, I've always wanted for you to succeed more than ever you wanted to succeed for yourself, whether it's my children, my husband, my team that I lead, my podcast team, the same thing. But here's the truth: we don't pressure people because we don't care. We pressure people because we care too much. We care deeply, like we really care. We want to protect them. We want them to succeed. We want them to avoid pain, especially as parents. We want them to become everything we know they're capable of becoming. The problem isn't our intention. The problem is our strategy. And this is why I love the way Jean Philippe put it. But the reality is, it doesn't always work, just by the way, okay? So I like that five, yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? It sounds so good. But in the moment where you learn that your husband calls you from the hospital, this is a real case scenario that happened this week. To my sister-in-law, that he's in the hospital and that he might have had a stroke, and he eats McDonald's, he drinks Coke, he's smoking, Jean-Philippe, it's not easy. It's not easy. Like I understand the yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? It's not easy. So I said to myself, what have I done over the years? Let me just talk out of what I've done, okay? We want them to become everything they're capable of becoming. The problem isn't our intention. Like I said, the problem is the strategy, right? So instead of teaching us how to control people, what Mel Robbins is teaching us is how to influence them. Now, this is where I totally, you have to understand, agree. And those are the two, that is completely different thing. Control creates resistance. Influence creates inspiration. One creates tension. The other creates curiosity. So in my own family, I've never, ever said anything other than, why bring in the chips if you have to say Don't eat chips. Anybody following me here? Why do I have to say don't eat chips? Just Maria, you don't eat them. You follow me what I'm saying? Being an example is the most powerful thing you can really be, my friends. Okay. And I know we want to change the world, and I know we want to tell people often what we're telling them not to do. It's because there's one, two, three, four fingers pointing to me what I shouldn't be doing, but it doesn't work. So eventually they will change because of what they consistently see. So how many times has someone told you to exercise? To eat healthier, to save more money, to stop procrastinating, stop scrolling, and you can go on and on and on. But the real way all of this works, okay? And if I can resume this entire chapter into something extremely simple, be the example you want your family to be. Okay. Exercising, eating healthy, sleeping well, not over drinking or not drinking at all. In my business, consistency, example of leveling up, glass always half full, and I could go on and on and on. Okay, shh, stop telling him. Be it, be it, be it. Okay, so I'm not about not telling you what not to do. I'm all about, let me be what you should be doing, and hopefully you're going to get the message or the facts. In my world, it's called the facts at a certain point. Okay. This is where I believe this chapter really spoke and continues to speak extremely loud to me. Okay. You simply have to make growth look happy. You have to make consistency look possible. You have to make discipline look rewarding. You have to make leadership look attractive. That is your full-time job as parents, as leaders, as members of a community. That is your full-time job. And hopefully, by your extraordinary, consistent example, you'll start influencing the world around you. So I have many beautiful stories. My mother always used to tell me on this fact, but remember the one I think you all will remember: stop wanting to change the world, rather change yourself. And by your example, you're going to change your family, or improve your family. And by the example of your family, you'll improve your village. And by the example of your village, you'll improve the country. By the example of the country, we shall influence the world. Amen. Over to the social mirror with Marie-Pierre Tétrault.
Thank you. Okay, so let's continue with our quiz of today, because the question is not to see if we want to change people, but it's how am I trying to create that change. So the goal here is not to judge ourselves, but it's about recognizing how we naturally respond when we want the best for someone. So are we someone that put pressure, or are you someone that inspire, or someone that just avoid? You say they let them, but there's no let me. So which one are you? So let's start with the question number one. This morning you can answer A, B, or C for each question. So question number one, now you have someone that isn't taking care of their health. So how do you react? A, I often tell them what they should be doing. B, I focus on improving my own habit and encourage them and when they show interest. Or C, I say nothing even though I'm worried. Question number two. When you have someone that doesn't follow your advice, how do you react? A, I become frustrated because I know I'm trying to help. B, I remind myself that every adult has the right to make their own decision. Or C, I simply give up trying. Question number three. Now, if you think about your leadership, which one is that will that you recognize yourself in? So A, I spend more time correcting than recognizing. B, I try to model the behavior I hope others will adopt. Or C, I mostly focus on my own responsibilities. Question number four. How do people usually feel after spending time with you? A, they probably know exactly what I think they should improve. B, they probably feel encouraged and capable. Or C, I'm honestly not sure. And question number 5. Which statement feel most true? A. I care so much that I sometimes push too hard. B. I believe my examples speak louder than my advice. Or C. I often stay on the sideline. So did you get mostly A's, mostly B's, or mostly C's? So if you have mostly A's, you're probably the pusher. So you have that generous heart that you generally want the best for people. Your advice usually comes from love, but sometimes your desire to help will become pressure for others, and that pressure, even if it's well intended, that will create that resistance. So you want to practice replacing one piece of advice with one thoughtful question. So you'll be surprised how often people will discover by their own answer what they need to do. Now, if you have mostly B, you are the influencer. So you understand that people rarely change because they are told to do, but they change because they are inspired. So you listen, you ask questions, you model the behavior you hope to see, and you celebrate the progress. So you want to keep protecting that balance because influence will grow quietly, but it will grow deeply. And if you have mostly C, now you are the observer. So you care about others, but sometimes your desire to avoid conflict keeps you from having meaningful conversations. So influence isn't pressure, but it's also isn't silence. So people will often need that encouragement. They need someone that will believe in them. So your voice matter. So use it with kindness and remember that leading gently is still leading. So 3 practical ways to become a positive influence this week. Number 1, replace one piece of advice with one question. So the next time that you are tempted to say, here's what you should do, pause and then ask a question. What do you think that would be the best next step? So prepare, and people will be far more committed to the answer that they will discover the answer that they are given. Number 2, catch someone doing something right. So intentionally recognize 3 positive behavior, not big achievement, but small improvement. So instead of waiting until people become who you want them to be, celebrate the person that they are becoming. So recognition will strengthen that repeated behavior. And number 3, do the mirror check. So before correcting someone, pause and ask yourself, am I currently living the behavior that I'm asking them to adopt? If the answer is yes, okay, continue leading by example. If the answer is no, start with yourself. So influence will always begin in the mirror because the people who change life around them are not the one that speak the loudest, but they are the one whose action quietly make others believe that if they can do it, maybe I can do it too. So on that, I wish you a beautiful day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning for the next podcast. Bye, everyone.